All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. Thanks so much for tuning in again today on this beautiful, beautiful Tuesday to the Wealthy, Healthy, Happy Show. We're going through the great literature of The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Today we're talking about leading and leaving the sheep. I'm your host, ERGJ, your certified financial educator. And we got Mr. Beatles in the building.
What's going on, everybody? This is Mr. Beatles, Mr. Wealthy, Healthy, Happy, your financial planner and small business developer. Man, we are excited to be back in the building, and I hope that you are loving this audio quality today.
Yeah, Mr. Beatles got a new mic.
That's right.
making a difference.
Woo!
Hey, so I hope you guys are following along with us at www.wealthyhealthyhappy.net. It's where you can catch up with all our previous shows and keep abreast of everything that we got going on. Got a lot of projects, special offers that are available, a lot of ways that we can help you and you can help us. And so check out the site, see how you can get involved, become a member, subscribe. We love to make the connection and keep the connection. Just in case, for some strange reason, some of the platforms and software that we're using today is no longer available, we can still be connected. Now, today we are, this book, which was written, 30 years ago, Mr. Beatles, for about 20 years, didn't really make much stride. But then all of a sudden, that seed that was planted 30 years ago started to make harvest and sprout in about 20 years and changed the life of the individual who wrote it. But the individual who wrote it has changed so many lives just by the concepts that are within this book. And we are going through this thing today, man. So we tried to get started yesterday. We got a little bit going. And as you're reading through the book, man, it is so rich with content and principles and ideas that can change your life, man. It's Mr. Beasley said you're on page number 7.
Page number 7. I couldn't get past it. And as soon as all right, so one of my affirmations for this morning was I will recognize opportunities easily and very clearly. And as soon as I started reading through the book, the first thing that jumped out at me was on page 5 when he was just about to it literally is the first page in part 1. He's about to get ready for bed. He's put all of his sheep down, and what I noticed, man, what was so deep about what happens next is he is getting ready to go to sleep. So he takes his jacket and he wipes it across the floor to give him some clear space. And then he takes his book, which he had just finished reading, as his pillow, and he lays down like nothing had happened, like it was normal. And I really started thinking about it. And then he kind of says, and then he goes a little bit further and he finds humor in his situation. And he says, man, next time I'm have to bring a thicker book with me because it makes for better reading and it also makes for a better pillow. And it also makes for a better pillow. And I just, again, that was for me. It jumped out at me and it said, I have to learn to be more flexible in the hard times, during my hard times in life. And I have to be able to make the adjustments and do what it takes in order for me to keep pressing towards my higher calling. And then in all of that, to make the journey rich, you have to find the silver lining and you have to find humor in You got to find humor in the struggle, man, because it's all a part of the journey.
It is all a part of the journey, man. He said you need a thicker book, not only for better reading, but for a better pillow. Now, and then we also not to sleep on the jacket. We're gonna have to talk about the jacket too, because the jacket was life changing. Because I think later on, later on, I don't know what page it's on. He talked about almost cursing the jacket because it was hot. He was walking in the heat in the desert. He had to carry the jacket, which was another weight on his shoulder. But he blessed the jacket because although he was carrying the weight of it during the day when it's hot in the middle of the day, he was also appreciative of the jacket because it kept him warm at night when it was cold. And so he still had to carry that jacket. So that jacket he was laying on was the same jacket that was a weight during the heat of the day, but it is also a warmth during the cold of the night.
That's like the gifts that we. It's like the gifts that we have that we sometimes we curse and don't appreciate or don't find value in until you absolutely need it. And I'm guilty of that, of having gifts, talents that, you know, I'm wondering, well, God, well, why did you give me this gift of poetry or writing or being able to problem solve if right now was not being useful and I'm not using it the way that I think I should be using it. And then all of a sudden he gives us an opportunity like what's happening right now, or he gives me the opportunity to talk to one of my clients. And then all of a sudden the gifts and talents that I thought were unuseful now become very, very much a needed thing in my quest, in my journey.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a time and a place. There's a time and a season for everything, man.
Oh my goodness! Shout out to the people that are just joining. Thank you so much for joining. Attitude and Gratitude. Absolutely, Ralph. Absolutely. We are talking about The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It is an amazing, life-changing read, and you wouldn't think that it is because of the way that it's written. It's written about a young man named Santiago, as a shepherd boy who is trying to find what God has given him. And so he is on this journey, and we are talking about his journey right now and how his journey very much reflects our journey.
Yes, his journey reflects our journey. And one of the key things to that journey is that he was seeking, he was looking. It wasn't a passive type of process. He was actually actively engaged in the process of finding what they call in the book his personal legend. And along the way, that we're going to pick up on what we're talking about today, and then we'll open up the seats because this is not a me show, it's a we show. So we have opportunities for you to join us. Share your thoughts. If you've read the book, if you haven't, and you get something out of what we're going to talk about today, feel free to share it because we want to share these life experiences. But we're talking about leading and then leaving the sheep. And so as I was reading, I found the sheep to be so very, very important. In the understanding of where he is, not necessarily where he is, and then also where he's going, because he talked about the sheep quite a little bit. Obviously, he's a shepherd boy. This was his trade. This was his vocation. But he was a shepherd boy only because it gave him the ability to travel. His purpose in life, from what he said, was to travel. So now he was traveling to all these different cities and leading these sheep along the way with him as he used the sheep to continue to sell wool, to have an income coming in as a vehicle to finance his purpose. Let me say that again. He was using his vocation as a vehicle to finance his purpose. That's the first question I have for you guys. Many of us, we talk about quitting our job and wanting to do this and wanting to do that. The question right now is, wherever you are in life right now, are you using your vehicle to finance your purpose? Are you using your vehicle to finance your purpose? His purpose was to travel. So along with traveling, he wasn't just traveling alone. He was traveling together. It says in life, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And his together at this point in time was his sheep that he was leading, this flock. And that's what we're going to call it, this flock that he's leading. So as we talk about the flock, it's going to get very, very interesting because there's different dynamics, and there's going to be a different flock that you might think about for your life as it relates to what are you carrying? What are you leading? What is a weight, or what is the joy, or what is the motivation behind you if you're in your search, if you're in your quest for the best you? You have to be in the quest. You have to be in the seeking. You have to be in the searching. You have to be in the knocking for the very best you. And what the very best you is on the inside of yourself already.
Come on, ERGJ. Hey, I was just gonna let you ride out, man. You were on the stroll right there, man. Look, all right. So the journey that he is on. So he transitions, right? So he is hoping that along his journey, he finds the village girl that he met some time ago, right? And another point that jumped out at me. So this is like on page 7, right? So I turned to page 6, 7, and now we are back into we're back into another nugget. In this nugget, what I found was that as she was describing what her life was like, she says that, man, my day is like every other day. And I get up and I do the same stuff and I go to the same place and I see the same people and I'm doing the same things. And it really sounded as she was describing her life in one sentence, as she was describing her life, it seemed very, very much like the world that I came from, which was the corporate world where I was managing things and I was always in front of a computer, staring at stuff that I couldn't interact with, and my life was unfulfilled. But then the shepherd in that very next sentence, he talks about very much like an entrepreneur would, where he talks about the places that he's gone and the people that he's met and the experiences that he's had and the joy that he finds in the new life that he chose for himself, that destiny. And so I took those two roles, and again, I looked at myself and I said, man, well, how does this relate to me? And I remember when I was at AT&T and I was making really good money working as a project manager. But again, I was up every day, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, I'm in traffic, 8 o'clock, I'm at my desk, 8:30, I'm punching in, 9 o'clock, I got a cup of coffee, I'm on my, and it was the same stuff every single day. But one day I chose to have some courage and be like the Santiago, the shepherd guy, and say, you know what, I'm going to lead some sheep. And the reason why is because I know that God has more in store for me. And if I just have a little bit of courage, I can be traveling the countryside and doing the things that most people aren't willing to do. And I'm excited about it.
Yeah, you gotta be willing to do what other people won't do, so later you can have what other people just can't have.
That's exactly the quote. That was exactly the quote, but I didn't have it on my cards.
Some of it isn't necessarily tangible. Some of it is intangible. Some of those things that you get that other people can't have. It's some of it's intangible. So as we talk about leading the sheep and then leaving the sheep, I think this is very crucial. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about some things that I recognized, I extracted from what the sheep really are, because he was leading them along with him, but he was actually carrying a weight. And at some point, I'd imagine he's gonna have to make a decision. We'll talk about that decision later on, because he's carrying this large, vast flock with him as he travels. And as you said, he's going to his whole purpose at this point is to catch up with this girl, share with her all his experiences from all his traveling. So he wants to bring her world into hers. So he's bringing his experiences of seeing the rest of the world and into the life of someone who is kind of mundane. I haven't really seen much. Just seeing the same thing every day, going to the same well, drinking the same coffee. So there might be an interaction later on as we get through the story. But the sheep itself, what he said, the very first thing he talked about with the sheep was that he had become comfortable. In other words, he was saying that, hey, I now know their schedule. And so if you have a pet, if you have, the relationships that you have in your life, he was saying that, hey, I know their schedule. But then he had to ponder and say, well, is it that I'm adjusting to their schedule or are they adjusting to my schedule? So the sheep were, they get up at the same time every morning. They probably need to go to the restroom. He has to do whatever he's got to do to take care of the sheep. But he was pondering himself. He said, is it that I'm adjusting to their schedule? Or are they adjusting to my schedule? So the thing that I extract from that, I say, well, hey, are we a people that are influenced by the environment, or are we a people that actually influences the environment? In other words, if you go into a hostile environment, are you the one that brings peace, or are you just participating in the hostility?
In the madness.
In the madness, right? Are you the
Yeah.
person that's participating? You're adjusting to that schedule. You're adjusting to that temperament. You're adjusting to that highly volatile situation, or are you the person that's changing the environment in which you
That's
walked
good.
into?
That's good. Who got something to say about that? And David Hughes got something to say about that. That's what I'm talking about. Jump on in. Jump in here and be a part of what's going on. All right, so
it's about impact.
Yeah, it absolutely. What's going on, David?
Good evening or morning for you.
Good evening.
I was just thinking about Santiago and Fatima and the story. And yeah, I'm one of those people who lead the sheep, then leave the sheep to find their own way in life.
Man, good stuff. You? Good stuff. So, all right. So, J Cash, Morego. I hope maybe that's Morego Company. I don't know. But Jay he asks a question. He says, like, what type of message? What type of message? So, my message, personally, is as a financial planner. So up in the top, my mission is to make this Wealthy, Healthy, Happy Network the #1 marketplace for growing people. And what I found on my personal journey as a financial planner is that people come to me all the time and they ask me about their how they can improve their finances. But what I found is that when we have a long enough conversation, there is much more to the story, and it's not so much about it's not so much about financial empowerment, but it's about quality of life. And so in those conversations, not only are we talking about their finances, but we're talking about their dreams. And so my message to my clients is that you absolutely can do, be, and have everything you want, but you have to write it down first. We have to have a definite major purpose in order for us to progress and towards our worthy ideal. So my message has been just that. But what I found is that I was spreading this message 12 years ago as a poet, but I just wasn't doing finances at the time. But I was speaking about social issues and about internal conflict and victory, and how through a dedicated mind and some words written down on paper, you could write your own life into existence. So that was my message. Still my message today.
Fantastic. I hope you got a little bit out of that discussion. What's your message that you're spreading, Mr. Cache, Mr. J. Morello?
Cache.
I don't know if he's still here, but anyway, oh yeah, he's still there. So at any rate, as we talk about, asking yourself, am I a person that is a change agent, so to speak? Am I the person that is making the change, or am I being influenced by the change? Am I a person that's bringing weather to the environment, or I am being splashed upon by the environment? That's one thing that that he recognized with the sheep. The second thing that I noticed when he recognized with the sheep, that the sheep were content. What he said was that all they cared about was food and water. As long as they were getting food and water, then they would do anything that he asked of them. They would give up their wool, and sometimes they would give up their meat. In other words, they would die for the cause of getting food and water. And so what I took away from that was, am I just content with just having just enough? Am I content with just being just over broke? Am I content with with the life of knowing that I can have more, but not really being recognized and really going after more, because I'm just content with what I have. Not only am I just gracious for the food and water, but now I'm just content with just the food and water. My most simple, basic needs, as long as I'm getting that, I'm good. Or am I really going to go after more? So are you content? Are you content? Because these sheep, they were following a shepherd, and they were just content with the food and water, regardless of what they had to give up, and sometimes their own life, in order to get the food and water.
Man, that's like very much like the lives that we lead today. And when you really think about this thing, man, like we are we are what we are a reflection of our environment, or our environment is a reflection of who we are. And so the challenge that Santiago is going to find is, when do I make the clean break? Because if I don't leave the sheep, then I will eventually become one of them. Because the sheep won't challenge him to be more, to do more, to have more, right? They're just going to, the sheep are just going to take, the sheep are just going to follow the shepherd wherever the shepherd takes them. But the shepherd also needs a mentor. The shepherd also needs a guide. The shepherd also needs a reason why he's living. And if it's just for the sheep, then that's cool. But he has to embrace that. But if there is more that he wants and desires in life, then he is going to have to leave the sheep in order to find new ground.
Now, David, you mentioned that I guess you've done this quite a bit. You've led the sheep and left the sheep. What did you any experience that you want to share about that?
Well, I meet lots of people, and they say they want what they want, and then I go a bit deeper and say, well, what is it you really want? And then I coach them a little bit, and then I let them move out on their own to see, in fact, whether they can do it. And if they can, just encourage them to keep going. I like one of the lines from the book, that says, to realize one's destiny is a person's only obligation. So as long as people stay following, they're not going to realize that. They're just going to follow the leader in a way that says, I want to be a bit like the leader, but they can't find their own destiny or their own potential by always doing that. So to let them just go free for a while to see how they cope. And then ask themselves the question is, how, what are you willing to sacrifice to get what you really want? As Mr. Beadle said, people want financial advice, and how can I do this and how can I do that? I've had people say to me, I want more money, so I've put $5 down in front of them and said, no, I want a lot more than that. So they're not clear on what they want, so I just have to encourage them a little bit.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Sorry?
Go ahead, Beetle.
No, I just wanted to say, man, you said something that was very important. And I don't think that we talk about this enough, is in order for you to truly accomplish your thing, whatever your definite major purpose is, you have to be selfish, right? You have to be selfish. And I think we live in this world and we have these concepts of being selfless, and there's a time for that. But you have to be selfish in the time that you spend with yourself, in your moments of meditation, in your time at the gym, in the stuff that you eat. You have to truly love on yourself first in order for you to have something to be able to give to somebody else. And so to realize your personal destiny is your first obligation. I would say, man, that takes so much boldness, so much courage, so much strength, so much perseverance and commitment, but it's all worth it in the end.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the lines in leadership is you cannot lead other people until you first learn to lead yourself. And it's where you find yourself and where you want to go allows you to do that.
That's right.
Man, how many people are roaming the land as sheep today, this morning? Woke up with no purpose, no clear idea of where they want to go. They're just waiting on someone to point them in a direction, no matter whether that's the direction that's right for them, because they don't know which direction is right for them. So the sheep that we're talking about, man, they had a schedule. Either we were adjusting to that schedule, they were adjusting to us. They were content, with the food and water, not necessarily going after more because they weren't led to go after more. But then thirdly, they were unaware. In the story, it said that in order for them to find new land, the shepherd had to send them off on a new route. And he said that the problem was that the sheep, they don't even realize when they're walking on a new road every day. He said they don't see that the fields are new and the seasons change. All they think about is food and water. And so I was actually having this conversation yesterday about this new route, and actually a difference between watching and observing in life. Sometimes we can go through life just watching, really not paying much attention to anything. I'm reminded of times when I go on the same route to work or come home from work the same route, and I can do it with my eyes closed. It's not like I'm really paying attention and observing everything that's going on this same route, even though it's new stuff, it's new cars, it's new, fresh air, it's different weather. I just get home. And so sometimes we got to take a new route. And the question is, do we have to be led to go on a new route? In other words, there's got to be an accident, and the GPS has to say, hey, it's going to take 5 minutes less for us to go this new route to work or this new direction in life? Or are we saying, hey, today I'm going to try something different. Today I'm going to be a leader of my own pack, of my own flock, and I'm going to take a new direction so that I could observe some new things in life and see these new roads that are available to me. I just have to open my eyes and see them.
Wayne Dyer said it nicely when he said, if you look at things a different way, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
That's so true.
And that's going in a different direction. It's good. It's good.
Yeah. It's the perspective. So Cassie, you asked the question, you said, how successful do you find the message is received? And this is the message that, so the message that you're talking about is the message that we are inside of right now. So I would say that there are at least 23 people that are hearing this message that are excited, or at least interested in it. And so for specific numbers, my clients, I would say that 9 times out of 10, the information that I share with my clients in regards to financial health, wealth, and prosperity, they absolutely get it. And I don't think that that's the challenge. The challenge is not, is change good for you? It's whether you have the courage to actually change, to commit to whatever those new goals, dreams, and desires are. You have to commit to the change. See, the diet works. Right. So you can look at you can look at Tony Horton's diet. You can look at you can do yoga, you can do martial arts, you could stretch every day, you could run. All of those things, they work, but nobody can do the push-ups but you. Nobody can get on the treadmill and run the calories off but you at the end of the day. And so the message is clear, very clear, in what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it. And there are a million gazillion books out there about how to be healthy, wealthy, happy, and live your life of freedom and love. But again, we have to do the legwork. You got to put in the time and the effort.
You actually got to read. You might have to, actually
got to put in
put in the time and the effort, man. That's all that work is, man. And so for the last point, man, that I wanted to make as he's going on this journey, I just found it very interesting. He gets to a point here that as a shepherd, one, he recognizes that as a shepherd, he's attached to his sheep, right? He feels as though the sheep can't survive without him. And I think that there are many of us in situations where we feel like, hey, this job that I'm doing, this task that I'm taking on, this volunteer work that I'm doing, whatever, it can't survive without me. In other words, I am so gifted at what I am that I'm irreplaceable.
That's dangerous.
And that can be a dangerous place. But he got to his place where he said that he had to make a choice between his flock and his treasure. His flock and his treasure. And I'm going to read this. He said he had to choose between something he had become accustomed to and something that he wanted to have. He had to choose between something he became accustomed to and something he wanted to have. And so as we talk about the flock and the shepherd, I just want to just kind of put this scope around it, this picture around it, because let's remember that his flock at this point in time was his treasure. His flock at this point in time was his income. His flock at this point in time was his vehicle, which got him to where he is today and allowed him to satisfy the purpose that he had for his life up until this point, which was traveling. So his flock, they were valuable. His flock at this point in time, it was treasure. But he said that he had to make a choice between staying with the flock or going after his treasure. Mr. Beatles, man, what's your thoughts on that?
All right. So I was just writing that down. So our current situation, the sheep that we're around, the environment that we have grown to love and or hate, is sometimes the very thing that keeps us from finding our personal mission, our personal destiny. And I would really just encourage everybody in 2016, well, we got a few days before it gets here, to truly evaluate what is currently in your life right now and what changes do you truly want to make. What things are currently in your life right now, and we'll call those things your sheep. We'll call that your traditions. We'll call that the stuff that you've been comfortable doing for however many years you've been doing them, but you know that there's also this deep desire, this deep calling on the inside of you, and identify what are those two things. What are the things that are holding you back, and what is the thing that you truly want to pursue in 2016, and then move towards those, and then move towards that. And it might not necessarily be that you have to start the business, but start thinking about the business. Maybe you write the business plan for the business. Maybe you do some consulting. Maybe you do some internship work. Maybe you write the poem this year. Maybe you start journaling this year. Maybe you meditate and pray this year because you've never done it before, and it's always been something that's on the inside of you that you've wanted to do. Whatever that thing is for you, I would say have the courage to leave your sheep, to leave your field, and move into a new place where you can do exactly what it is that you want to do.
And I would tell you this, guys, that if you want to be successful, whatever success is for you, the very first thing is you have to commit to success. You have to commit to success. So Santiago's commitment at this point in time was, hey, I'm getting these dreams about this treasure, and I've never had these visions before. I've been comfortable with what I've been doing. This has been allowing me to live the life that I want to live. In actuality, that's what was happening. He was living the life he wanted to live. He was fulfilling his purpose. But then he started getting a higher call and said, okay, this is something I got to figure out. And at this point in time, he's having to make this decision whether he's going to go after it. I mean, there comes a place and time in your life where the rubber meets the road, where you have to say that I'm going to go for it. And many times, I would say the one thing that holds us back from going for it would be our obligations, would be the debts that we have accrued, would be the responsibilities that we have decided to take upon in our life, which could keep us from going for it. Some people still go for it no matter what. But many of us say, I can't because I can't.
Right. It's too cold. It's too cold outside. I don't like prepping my meals on Sunday because it takes 2 to 3 hours to cook all the chicken and the broccoli and the rice. Right? We can find an excuse. We can find every excuse. And if we look back at 2015, there have been excuses that we've made, and a lot of times they're not even a good excuse. They're not even a good excuse. I mean, they just it wasn't that your toe was broke, or like Ryan Roy, his ankle was broke and he couldn't run his marathon. But a lot of times it's raining outside, and so I don't want to run. Well, find reasons this year to stick to it. And so I wrote down in the bottom of the comment, I said commitment is sticking to your worthy ideals well after the moment that you were inspired to write your stuff down in has left, right? So you are committed to it regardless of how you feel in the moment. You feel great, and so you wrote it down. You said, this is what I'm going to do. 2 weeks from now, you don't feel so great because you're sore and you're tired and people aren't picking up the phones and you haven't sold your books and you haven't quite got your business plan to where you want it. Continue to do what you do.
20 years to start selling this book, The Alchemist, man. 20-something years.
20 years. 1988 is when he wrote the book. And today we're talking about it because it is a world acclaimed book. And it has touched and impacted a lot of people's lives, man. So you never know when your seed is going to reach maturity. But I will say it is worth planting.
I got a 1998 edition.
Yes.
Same book. The book. That's the book. It's an awesome book. That's the original book, isn't it? That one.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? Today, it's raining about. It's reason not to go because I knew that it would cause me some pain and maybe triggers there for me and all those sorts of things. But I was willing to face that because of what I thought about the guy whose funeral I was going to. And it was painful for a while in there. But it made me stronger because I've been. Problem is, I've got to go to another one tomorrow. And now I'm not sure about that one.
Hey, David, you're breaking up just a little bit, man. We are having a hard time hearing you.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not sure what happened to your. No, it's still a little staticky. I'm not sure what happened there. I heard a little bit.
We're losing packets. We're losing packets.
Okay.
Refresh. I mean, it's.
I'll refresh.
Not a problem, but I heard basically he was saying that he had a Toastmasters and he was making all the excuses why he shouldn't go, and this is something that if you were here yesterday, he is going towards becoming a grand champion in Toastmasters, and so part of that journey was continue to make the commitments to going to the meetings and doing the speeches. And at some point in time, he had the opportunity to make the excuses why not to do it. And in order for him to fulfill his journey, he had to make the decision to do it, regardless of how many excuses he was going to make up in his own head as to why he could not or should not, go to the meeting or do the speech. So, and I think that's very similar for many of us. We can make all the excuses in the world as to why we can't be successful. But I got a question like, well, how many reasons are we making why we can be successful? And which belief are you going to have for your life? Are you going to make the reasons why you can be successful be more powerful than the excuses of why you can't be successful? And that's really what it comes down to. The decision that you make each and every day, am I going to go towards the reasons or am I going to go towards the excuses? That has a lot to do with the harvest that you're going to reap at harvest time. In the season for which you harvest, those decisions that you make daily, this is the planting of the seed. Every day I have to decide that, hey, I'm going to focus on the reasons why I can be successful versus the excuses of why I can't be successful. That's where many of us have the trouble. That's where the battlefield really is. And it's all up here. Am I going to stay in bed just because I can, or I'm going to get up and go do something that's going to be productive towards my end goal, whatever that may be. So we just coming out of the 30-day Strangest Secret Challenge. We're now into the Alchemist, and the Alchemist itself is an individual who can take lead and turn it into gold. And so what we're saying is, hey, you can take your flock and you can turn it into treasure. And you can actually decide at that point in time to leave your flock and go after your treasure, because now you have taken the time to determine or to focus or to find out what your personal legend really is. And so, guys, this is what's up, man. We're going through the Alchemist. This is something that we do each, and we're going to be going through, I don't know, however long I guess it takes to get through the book. I don't know how long we're going to do it, Mr. Beal. But, we're having trouble we've on part 1. It's 50 pages long. Mr. Beal's on page 7 and extracting so much. And you get some of the things that we're sharing. So hopefully you guys are getting something out of it. Hopefully you'll pick up the book, read along with us, and just tune in, man. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern, the Wealthy, Healthy, Happy Show. Going through the Alchemist by Paulo Coelho now. Highly acclaimed. Follow along with us, man. Mr. Beatles.
I would just like to end this thing off by saying no excuses in 2016, and you can make that personal commitment by setting some goals for yourself today. One major thing that you're going to do today, post your major accomplishment. If there was one thing that you could do today that would just make today amazing, write that down in the comments. And when you jump on the call tomorrow, when you jump on the show tomorrow, even if you don't jump in the hot seat, let us know that you got that thing accomplished. So one thing that you want to accomplish today, what is going to be your success, your major win for today? Write that thing down in the comment section, and then follow up tomorrow. Be here tomorrow at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Put your money where your mouth is. Put your money where your mouth is. Put your money where your mouth is.
So here's the deal, guys. If you are enjoying the show, you can make sure you follow us here. Just up above our names, you can click follow, and then that way you'll be notified when when the shows get scheduled. We'll be scheduling the next one for tomorrow. Going through again The Alchemist, and so I want you to tune in. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. We got quite a few people. Miss Veda, Miss Ward, Ralph is here again in the building. The Kingdom Helper, Miss Thomas is here. Vango, man, checking in with us. Appreciate your love. Mr. Hughes, of course. Cache, your first time with us here. Hopefully you'll join us tomorrow, Miss Brittany. And also Miss Revel, at Revel, your self-awareness, self-esteem, self-protection, author and public speaker, man. That's good. Bodacious living. We're going to have to hear about that. It's at 7 a.m. Eastern time, so it's supposed to be about 30 minutes long, but sometimes we go over. Not a big deal. If as long as we you do 3 scopes and 3 blasts, as long as we are able to connect, that's fine. That's good. So this is our show today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Wealthy, Healthy, Happy show. www.wealthyhealthyhappy.net in order to continue to follow us, catch up on what you missed on today and in past shows. And that's what's going on, Mr. Beatles.
That is all we have for today. The time now is 7:45. I like where this thing is going. At the top of the year, I'm gonna have to be a little bit more succinct in my stay. 7:30 is gonna have to be the cutoff, but I just can't get. I'm loving what's happening right now, and so thank you everybody for tuning in and joining. Make sure you pick up that book. The audio is on wealthyhealthyhappy.net. If you are riding into work today and you don't have time to actually pick up the book and read it physically, you got ways to do it. So that being said, we are wealthy, we are healthy, we're happy, and we are out.
You guys have a wonderful day. Talk to you tomorrow.